everybody, it's a new year. It's time to start a new franchise. I was going to start with the Alien franchise because I started 2020 with Predator, but now Wrong Turn 2021's coming out for one night in late January. I don't know when the VOD DVD release date is yet, but hopefully soon after. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to catch that one night showing because it's like an hour away from me. It's very select theaters that are showing it, but hopefully I can see it and hopefully it comes out. If not, very soon afterwards. So in the next 6 weeks, we are going to be discussing the Wrong Turn franchise, which is a franchise that I have seen before and many times, a few times each of them. I mean, I've seen all these a handful of times, not like a lot, like the Friday the 13th series and Child's Play series, which I'm a huge fan of, and I've seen those movies like dozens of times. But this is a franchise I've always been lukewarm on. Like, it's, fine. Some of them, like half of the franchise, if not less than half of the franchise, is fine, and the other ones they just get worse and worse and worse, and we'll get there. But I will say on this viewing, this is the least I've liked this movie. I've always thought this one was good, and that 2 was, fine, and 3 was okay, and then it just got worse and worse. Like I said, there's something in my eye. But this one, on this viewing, I wasn't that crazy about it. It's still okay, but this was the least I've ever liked this movie before. So, plot synopsis, in case you don't know what this movie is about, this is about a guy who crashes his car into another car of people whose tire is flat, and they have to go look for help. And while they're looking for help, they're attacked by 3 cannibals in the woods. So, yeah. That's as basic as it gets. Now, this movie, what are the good things about this one? I really like, first up, I like that this is probably one of the first slashers in the 2000s to, like, abandon the whole Scream formula and template that was set up by Scream. Because if you think about it, this is the first time I've ever thought about it, because I was thinking about it, I was like, all right, so when did this start becoming, a thing where everyone was trying to like do a throwback to 80s and bring it back to the 80s slasher template? And I mean, this isn't really too much of a slasher to me because there's like multiple killers. It's more of a crazy family or a cannibal genre to me. But when did movies start going back to that? Like a Hatchet, stuff like that, where they were going back to that template and redoing it again. Because after Scream, for like 5 years or so after that, everyone was trying to be Scream, Urban Legends, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and like Valentine. They were all being like self-referential. They were always being meta. There was like no gore, no tits. It was all the same. They had the same look, soundtrack. They just all felt the same way. And then this one, 2003, this probably made in like 2002, written and directed in 2002. This is probably one of the first movies of the millennia that said, screw all that shit, let's go back to the films that we know and love. So I appreciate that. This is one of those first movies in the 2000s that wasn't a remake and was just paying homage to the older films. It's a good thing, it's also a bad thing because it's extremely tropey. There's nothing original here. So I love that, and I love that the women in this movie are all beautiful. No complaints here. Every single woman in this movie is stunning as hell. Every single one of them. And the makeup effects, this was done by the Stan Winston studio. I don't think it was like Stan Winston himself, but it was his studio working on this film. So you can tell because the makeup effects are the best in the franchise in this movie. The looks of the 3 cannibals, they don't show them that much. They kind of keep them more hidden throughout the movie. You get some shots of them, but it's more, in the shadows, lurking through the woods. It's not like every single scene, like as you go through the series, it's just like they're on screen longer and longer, and the makeup's getting worse and worse, where they should be hiding them more as you go into the other movies because of how bad the makeup is. This is when they should be showing them more because of how good the makeup is, but they show them less, like it's Jaws. Show the shark less. So yeah, the makeup effects on the killers, I love that there's 3 of them. It ups the intensity. There's more of a threat. There's more danger lurking around each corner that can come at you from different angles. So I love that there's more killers. And I love the evil laugh in this movie, although it gets worse as the franchise goes on because they use that three finger laugh like way too much in like 4 and 5. They have them laugh in like every freaking scene. It's like, we get it, man. That's your little shtick. That's your thing. That's creepy, but too much. In this one, they use it just enough. It's creepy. It's unsettling. And if I heard that laugh in the middle of the woods, I'd shit myself. So, like the creepy laugh and the third act, like fight, rescue scene when he's trying to save Jessie. I thought all that stuff was pretty cool and fun. And there's some good kills in here. Not a whole lot of gore. This isn't a gore fest, not like 2 and some of the other ones. This is probably the least gory of the 6, definitely. But the kills are still memorable, a couple of them, especially one, so I'll give it that. And as for the things I didn't like about this movie is that this movie is extremely like tropey, like stereotypes, and just every box is checked. This is like a throwback, like I said, but it's like to the nth degree. Like everything is being redone here. Like everything that you saw in movies in the 70s and 80s, like Hills Have Eyes. You got the creepy gas station guy. He's got like one tooth. He's drinking Pepto Bismol for some fucking reason. I guess he needs it. So yeah, you got that thing, and he's like, he knows about the cannibals out there, and then in part 2 we find out that he's related to them. Spoiler. um, and yeah, it's just, they take a wrong turn. There's no cell phone service, and then this. I mean, that's a newer trope for today because of the cell phone. That wasn't around in the 80s, of course, but you know what I mean. Like, there's so many things. Just even the opening credits with the titles. The opening title credits felt generic slasher, generic horror movie, just creepy black and white shots of like dolls that are fractured and creepy looking, and saw blades with blood dripping off of them. It just all felt very generic. Maybe it was on purpose. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But this movie felt very tropey. And the characters, there's like no setup. They just, one guy crashes into the other, and therefore there's some tension between them. They're like, you fucked up our car, and then they just walk off into the woods, and we don't really get much interaction between them. We get a little bit, but not enough. So there's like hardly any character setup. I don't really know who these people are, and then they're just quickly picked off left and right. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm not attached to any character in this movie. There's not one that really stands out. There's only one that made me chuckle once, and he's my favorite character because of that. But I didn't really give a shit about any of them. You got the couple that's engaged, and therefore I guess you're supposed to care about them because they're in love. They have like one little sweet moment together. And then there's the other ones that are the stoners, of course, and they're the first ones to get picked off because they're having sex, they're doing drugs, they're talking about getting more drugs, and then they get picked off. It's just, I didn't care about the characters. I did not care about them at all, and some of the performances were weak, some of them were okay, but the main girl in the movie, I thought she was the weakest. I would have preferred having the redhead as the main girl because she was the hottest chick and my kind of lady. So, and so yeah, I wasn't crazy about some of the performances, and there's like some like CGI and digital effect shots. Like, there's some shots in here that just looked weird, and I think it was because of like, they were like green screen shots. Like they were clearly in like a studio when they're climbing the trees and shit. It just looked off to me, and so yeah, I mean, final thoughts. This is an okay slasher movie, if you want to call it a slasher. This is an okay cannibal hillbilly movie. It's got some tension. The best scene in this movie really is that whole like hiding in the house scene underneath the bed. That's the best like tension in the film. I like the look of the killers. I like that there's 3 of them, and I like some of the kills, but this isn't really like a standout slasher of the 2000s, one that I highly recommend. It definitely went down on this viewing experience. Not as good as I remember it, but still okay. It's definitely not the worst thing of the 2000s. All right, so when it comes to Wrong Turn, if you like this type of genre, consider giving it a watch by streaming it, borrowing it from a friend, or renting it at Redbox. Alright, time for the spoiler discussion. So we get this, typical horror open where we see people die first, and then we meet the main characters. We get these climbers, they're climbing up the rock. The one boyfriend, dies off camera, and he gets thrown off the cliff. And, she, like, cuts her rope real quick. She rather falls to her death, but she survives the fall, and then gets dragged off camera. And this was written by the guy who wrote Halloween 4, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. And he's writing the reboot or remake or sequel. I'm not sure what the hell it is. And then we get the generic opening title credits, whatever. And no cell phone service out here in Virginia or West Virginia. And then we meet the generic gas station attendant. He's got the bad teeth. He's drinking Pepto Bismol. He's got like one tooth, just one. It's like if you have just one, you might as well just commit to having zero and just pull the fucker out. Like, all right, tie a string around it, put it to your car door, slam it shut, get it out of it. And then we get the car crash, and now they're stuck out there. They got the barbed wire on their tire. That's how they're stuck. And they're going to go look for help. And meanwhile, Danielle, or not Danielle, Francine, the hottest chick in the movie, she just starts giving this guy roadhead right in the middle of the road. She don't care if anyone drives by because they're in the middle of nowhere, so no one's going to see them, except for maybe their friends, but they don't care. That's my type of lady. That guy she's blowing, though, is Kevin Zegers, if that's how you say his name, from Frozen, one of my favorite movies from Adam Green, who did Hatchet. And there's two actors in this movie from Cube, and then there's one actor from Cube Zero. Coincidence? I don't know. You tell me. So, after the whole roadhead thing, the stoners, they get killed off first. Kevin Zegers' character is killed right off camera, which is fucking lame. And then we see, all the old cars outside the killer's house, basically showing you that they've been doing this for decades. You got, cars from, the 50s and 70s. Is one of them the Texas Chainsaw Massacre van? It looked like there was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre van right out front. And then, the other girl gets the barbed wire in her mouth. She had a dick in her mouth earlier, now she's got barbed wire in her mouth. Maybe that's supposed to be the joke. That's just something I caught in this viewing. And, so they get to the house, typical jars of body parts everywhere, very, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Hills Have Eyes, stuff like that. Or other movies from the 80s. It just feels like something that's been done 1,000 times. Even See No Evil did it, but that was after this. So yeah, they're in there, they're exploring the house, and I just feel like this sequence goes on a little too long. I was starting to get a little bored. It's like, I get it. There's body parts here, there's body parts there, there's body parts there. There's just get the fuck out of that place. They should have been looking for weapons right off the bat, but they don't. The killers come in, they drag the body in, they have to see their friends that are dead, get butchered even more and chopped to pieces. Best scene in the movie. And they somehow never get caught. It flashes forward an hour or so later. All the killers, all three, go to bed at the same time in the middle of the day. Really? They are lame. They're senior citizens. Oh, it's 6 o'clock p.m. Time to go to bed. It's really? That's when they go to bed? And it's the other two were hiding in the room next to the living room. They just sleep in the living room with the shotgun in their hand. It would have been funny if one of them just accidentally blew their brains out in their sleep. They had a dream they were picking their nose, but instead their finger hit the trigger and that's a dangerous thing. You can't just sleep with a shotgun in your hand. But yeah, the other two were in the room next door. They could have easily found them at any moment. They never had to use that room all day. Bullshit. But when they're escaping, they don't think to grab a weapon on the way out or stab them in their fucking sleep. That's what I would have done, the Viet Cong, it's Vietnam. That's what they used to do back then. They sneak up on the enemy and slit their throat in their sleep. That's what they should have done here, all right? But they didn't. And they're just walking out. He looks around, sees the guy is awake on the bed looking at him as he's leaving. Oh, shit. And we get we get 2 moments back to back where they're hey, I'm over here. This isn't a distraction or anything. I just genuinely want you to chase me. It's what do they think the killers are going to think in that moment? I mean, the killers, I guess, are morons because they fall for it every fucking time. They do it 3 times in this movie. The whole, I'm over here, chase me. It's stupid. There's 3 of them. They could send one guy to the person who's doing that. Hey, I'm over here. And then 2 to search the area. There's 3 of them. What the fuck are you thinking? It's so idiotic. and not killing them in their sleep. And then we get the arrow kill to the boyfriend, Scott. One of the better characters in the movie. And I feel like they messed up when they showed the shot of him like drawing the arrow. They should have made it more of a shock, like you didn't see it coming. They kind of like showed their hand a little early with that one. And then they find the watchtower, they go up, and then the radio goes off, and they can hear it from below. Bullshit. Like, how quiet are these woods, and how loud is that radio? Like, it's 100 feet up. We see them climb it. We see how tall it is. We see the POV down, how far down they are, how far away they're walking. They're walking on leaves and twigs and hitting branches. They're probably doing caveman, sounds to each other because they don't seem to speak English. Like, they're making noises. It's the woods, crickets, owls, like, they hear the fucking radio up there go off. Bullshit. And further bullshit, they jump out of the radio tower, the watchtower, because they light it on fire to burn them out. Smart. So I guess they're not that dumb. And they jump out doing like some First Blood Rambo shit, landing on the trees below. And the third chick, when she jumps out, she like lands on her side, and she's just perfectly fine throughout the rest of the movie. She's asking the other guy who got shot in the leg, like, how's your leg? He should have been like, how's your stomach? Your ribs should be broken. You should have internal bleeding. Like, you should be fucked up. But nope, they're all perfectly fine from jumping like 30 feet onto wooden branches and shit. Like, that's not a soft pillow you're landing on. That is a tree. It's like, it's ridiculous. That's another ridiculous thing. I had to call bullshit. And then we get the best death in the movie. Carly, she's just standing there and gets the axe right through the mouth, half decapitation, Final Destination 1 style. And then we get like the shot of her like, pupils, dilating, which is what would happen. You don't see that a lot in films. And her body just falling down to the ground below. Awesome shot. And so then oldest trick in the book. Yeah, we have like the oldest trick in the book. The whole like pull the branch back and then release it thing hits the guy off the tree. And so yeah. And right after this, or right before that, the whole I'm over here. That's how they lure him into that trap. They did it again. I'm over here. Come get me. This isn't a trap. It's not a diversion. I just genuinely want you to find me. Nothing to see here. It's so stupid. So then they sleep behind a waterfall through the night, and we get a quick little dream / hallucination sequence, which, I'm not fond of those. And they have like one quick moment of grief where she explains like why they're out there. They're basically all there for her because she just got dumped, So it's like, it's not your fault. I promise we're gonna get out of this. I swear. How many times does that happen in a horror movie where they promise somebody something like, "Oh, we're gonna make it. Trust me. I have faith." I know me in that situation. I would never be that guy. I'd be like, "Yeah, we're all gonna die." I would be that person. We're all gonna die, or I would just keep my mouth shut. All right, I don't want to bring people's spirits down and be that guy. So I would just keep my mouth shut and not be that annoying person. All right, so then after that, cop shows up. Like all movies, cop dies right away. The guy from Cube Zero, arrow right through the eye. Then he gets in the car, and we hear the one arrow go through the windshield. But then when it cuts to, like, there's 2 arrows in the car seat. Did he shoot 2 at once? Can you do that? I mean, I guess so. I think I've seen it in like video games, but is that a real thing? You can shoot like 2 arrows at once? I mean, I didn't see him pull 2 arrows, but that's what I saw in the car seat. And then we get a Cape Fear moment here where he gets underneath the car, he's holding on to it, and they're driving down like a bumpy road. I saw Cape Fear last month. That's how I know. First time viewing. Great movie. Watch Cape Fear. But he pulls a Robert De Niro Cape Fear, and they're on the dirt road. It's like, it's uneven. Like, and how much strength, like, I've never done it, but I could imagine that would get tiresome after a while. His arms would give out. I don't care how big your biceps are or how big your deltoids are. Like, nothing. No, whatever muscle is holding you up there is going to give out, and you're going to fall and splat, and tires are going to roll over you. You're dead. But he makes it because it's a movie. And so they capture Jess, and they keep her alive. Why? That does not match what they've done throughout the rest of the movie. That's not their, that's not their thing. I'm blanking on the word. But that's not what they do. Like, every single person they've encountered in this movie, they kill right away. The cop, boom, arrow. Stoners, boom, dead right away. Carly, the Scott, Everybody, they get killed right away. There is no capturing. But for her, they drag her alive to the place, and then as like right before the other guy comes to the rescue, then they're gonna like slit her throat. It's like they could have slit her throat as soon as they caught her and dragged her dead body to the house, just like they did to everybody else. Makes no sense. It's convenient as fuck. So then this guy just recklessly drives the cop car right through the house. Like, he didn't know where they had her body. If she was, I mean, he knew she was alive. He heard her screams, but we didn't see him like look through the window. Like, okay, she's over there. So if I crash right here, she'll be fine. Like, no, he's like, I hear her in there. I'm coming to the rescue. Crashes right through the main doorway, like the main entrance, and then like he could have sent debris and hit her. Like, he didn't know exactly where she was standing or laying down. He could have ran her ass over. I mean, he was in there earlier, so maybe he just remembered like, oh, I remember the bed being over there. Maybe that's where she's. But he didn't know. He couldn't have known. He would have ran her ass over. He was being reckless. And we get that quick fight scene, and for some reason, Jess, she just hits the three finger right in the shoulder when she could have hit him right in the fucking face, but of course she hits him in the shoulder, and then they shoot the gas cans. It blows them back realistically, and then we get the end stinger at the end. You know, the credits start rolling, you think it's over, but nope. We gotta have that end stinger, that thing that says there's a sequel coming, where the cop shows up and he gets killed as well by Three Finger, the lone survivor. That's the end of the movie. The Hockey Mask Award for Best Character in this movie is Scott, because he had the funniest lines to me. He was probably one of the better actors in the film to me. And Mr. Henke Award for Worst Character in this movie, for me, was the main chick, Jess, the final girl, who just gets captured and acts like a little bitch to the main guy in the movie at first. I didn't like her. Didn't like her performance, and didn't like her. And the hottest chick in this movie will be Francine, Queen of Roadhead. She's just my kind of lady. I love everything for redheads, I guess. And the Clapper Award for Best Scene in this movie is the whole hiding inside the killer's house and watching their friends get chopped into pieces and then trying to sneak out. All that stuff was very tense and great. And the Funny Bone Award for funniest moment is when Scott references Deliverance.
Well, I need to remind you of a little movie called Deliverance.
And the best shot in this movie is easily the shot of Carly Steph, zoomed in on her eye, pulling back, panning up, seeing her body fall down to the ground. Best shot in the movie. Speaking of which, Mr. Hat Award for Best Kill is Carly Steph, because it's a decapitation, half decapitation, and it's done creatively, and I just love the way it's shot. And the Mr. Twig Award for the lamest kill will go to Kevin, the guy who is dating Francine, lucky son of a bitch, but he just gets his ear chopped off, and we never really get to see a good, clear aftermath body shot. And those are my thoughts on Wrong Turn. What did you think about this 2000s slasher cannibal movie? Let me know in the comments below. Is it your favorite of the franchise? I'm sure it is. Let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.